Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Curator Within. I'm Julie, your guide and reminder to just look within because your path is yours and your path is personal. This is where we dive into deep conversation and discuss practical tools to help you curate a life that you love and enjoy. These are meant to be timeless messages that you can come back and listen to anytime that you need inspiration. Today, I want to talk a little bit about social media and just media consumption in general. So, first and foremost, I'd like to say social media is a really awesome tool. However, I do think that it's important to set boundaries around social media and around our phones, especially when you're curating a life that you love and enjoy. Because if we leave our energy open to everything that social media is and we are consuming so much, it really does weigh on our soul and weigh on our spirit, and it gets in the way of the things that we are working to create in our lives. I do believe that we are the creators of our reality. So we do need to be conscious of what we are consuming. And I think that we're all meant to create in this world, and that constant consumption can really bring us down. So it's important to set boundaries. I know when we think of boundaries, a lot of times we think of boundaries in our relationships, interpersonal relationships, and things like that. However, we can set boundaries with anything. We can set boundaries with social media, with our phone, with exercise, with food, with people in our lives. Boundaries can be set everywhere. And I'm not saying boundaries to try to keep yourself safe because you're in such a fear state and you just want to control everything and make yourself safe. I mean boundaries in the sense of, hey, you know what? This really isn't adding to my life. This really isn't filling my cup. So I'm going to take a step back and maybe focus on something over here. And social media, I know that for myself, I've experienced it where, for instance, I was depressed or anxious and I sat there and just scrolled on my phone until my phone literally died in my hand because I was sitting there watching so many TikTok videos over and over. So, something that I've done in my life recently is completely delete all social media apps. TikTok, I've been off of for a few years, same thing with like Snapchat and all of that. But more recently, I've decided to completely delete Facebook and Instagram. So you'll only be able to find me here on YouTube, at least for the time being and the time moving forward. For me, I just felt like that wasn't adding to my life. And this isn't something I did overnight. I started creating smaller boundaries. So if deleting your apps altogether sounds like a really scary thing, I'm not saying do that right now, but I am saying just be conscious of your consumption. Because if we really want to be conscious of our mind and our thoughts, and if we really want to work to reframe our mind and our thoughts and grab control of the story, we cannot just wake up and grab our phones and start scrolling because that is literally going to siphon the energy out of us and it is going to pull us in so many different directions. I'm sure you've experienced this when you scroll. It's like, oh, sad, happy, fearful, be scared of this, be scared of that. And I feel like our feeds are just becoming that. And when we're consuming that all of the time, it becomes the blueprint for our subconscious. So I think that that is a very important distinction to make because we are absorbing all of these things. Our subconscious mind takes in a whole lot more than our conscious mind. So when we are scrolling, we are taking on everything, even the health gurus out there that are shedding fear onto you constantly. And if you pay attention to social media, usually the message behind it is fear. And if we want to escape fear, if we want to release ourselves from fear, what we're consuming has to be rooted in love. There's love or fear. That's what you got and that's what you have to choose from. And I promise you, you can choose love and you can choose to create the things that you want in your life. But if you are just freely open to all of the media around you, all of the marketing around you, all of the advertisements, you are going to get bogged down and you are going to stay stuck. You can save all of the things that you want for later. I've done that, made little lists and saved things, and like, oh, I'm going to do this recipe. I'm going to try this DIY. I'm going to do this activity. When in reality, you never actually get anything done and you just stay in this endless loop of consuming. And it's kind of like you're on a treadmill and there's a carrot dangling in front of you, and you feel like you're putting in the work, you feel like you're doing something and you're going to reach that carrot, but you never do. All you're doing is just staying stagnant and staying in place. And it's so important what we feed ourselves, not just with food, but with media. What are we consuming? Are we watching things that are just giving us more things to be worried about, more things to fear? And I know that in today's world, it seems like you have to be constantly connected and you have to know about all of the awful things that are going on in the world in order for you to stay safe. But I promise you, you do not have to be tapped into that 100% of the time. You can create boundaries there. Maybe you can say, okay, I'm not going to watch the news anymore, or I'm not going to scroll 3 hours before bedtime. I'm not going to scroll first thing in the morning. And I think that this is so important to talk about because I don't think that people realize how addicted they are to these things, and not just even consuming, but even just sharing, feeling like you have to share every little bit of your life. That can get exhausting as well. Remember, there are bits of your life that are just for you, and that's okay. They can be just for you. You don't have to share it with the world. But if this is something that you've been thinking about and social media has been on your mind, if you're like, you know what, I'm good with my relationship with social media, then this might not be the message for you. But if this has been weighing on your mind, if this is something that you've been thinking about, I want to encourage you to just take one small step. And that could literally just be, okay, first hour of the day, I'll be without my phone, and then you can progress from there. Last hour of the day, I'm without my phone. Whatever feels good to you. And if something feels like too big of a step, just remember to make it a smaller step. It can literally be the first 10 minutes of your day if you are super addicted to scrolling. And we need to dopamine detox in a sense and make sure we are not constantly taking that in, because it is a very cheap form of dopamine. It's very fast, it's very quick. We want the real dopamine. We want to get out there and move our bodies and treat our bodies well and speak kindly to ourselves. A lot of times, comparison is the thief of joy, right? So, a lot of times when we're on social media, we are subconsciously comparing ourselves to others. And the funny thing about comparing ourselves to others is we could see someone's post about their job, their new career, whatever it is, and we might look at that and just subconsciously think, "Oh my gosh, I'm a failure because I don't have that job and that career." But if we thought about it with intention on a conscious level, we might not even want to live that person's life. We might not like even want anything to do with what their dream or their goal or what it is that they put out there. So it's just important to pay attention to that too. Are you subconsciously and consciously having these thoughts? So maybe you're not ready to take a break from social media. Maybe you're not ready to create those boundaries, but maybe you're ready to just be conscious of what you're thinking about as you're scrolling. Maybe slow your scroll and pay attention to the information that is being put into you, because I really do see it as this loop and this siphoning of energy that is happening. And every day we're giving our energy to this, and is it really filling us up? And I do foresee within the next 10 years a lot of mental illness continuing because of social media. I know that you've probably seen it in your own life, but mental illness is perpetuating in our society. And I do believe that a lot of it has to do with social media and the things that are on there. And these young children are growing up in this world. And you have to remember that social media really is an echo chamber, and it is just feeding you back what you want to see as well. Those algorithms are very, very smart, and it's showing you that. And I think what social media has been doing to our society is dehumanizing others. And that I think is my biggest problem when it comes to social media is I see comments and just dehumanization, and people are lacking love and compassion for one another. And then you have keyboard warriors, right? People are saying things online that they would absolutely never ever say to your face. So I encourage you just to take a step back from social media, or just take a step back in your mind and start to think about these things. Because if we were to step outside and speak to our neighbor and say they had an opposing view, you would probably sit there and try to understand where they're coming from, and you would try to have a conversation with them, right? Like it would be something back and forth. It wouldn't be just people throwing this venom on each other. So I just think it's really important to think about those things. And I know that it feels like you have to be connected, and it feels like, it's 2026, we need to be on social media, we need to be doing these things. Maybe you're building a business, maybe it's something that you think is really, really important at this moment in time. But I promise you, let me tell you, I give you the permission to step away. Give yourself permission to step away, because if you focus on your energy, if you focus on your frequency, if you focus on the things that you really love and enjoy in your life will get exponentially better. And if social media is draining you, just know you are not alone, and you are allowed to step away. Give yourself permission to create the boundaries that you need to with social media. And guess what? It's not going anywhere. You go back on there a month later, and things are going to be exactly the same. People are going to be sharing the same things. It is an endless loop. And I have a lot to say. I love to talk, and that's why I'm here on YouTube. And this is where I want to be, because I do feel like I have things I want to share just from what I've been through in my own life, what I've experienced. And I think that everyone has a valuable story to share. And that might be sharing it with a neighbor, sharing it with a friend, or sharing it here online. And I think that that is a beautiful thing. And like I said, I think that social media can be a beautiful tool, but I do feel like it has overtaken our life. And it's important just to get back to humanity, get back to being human, get back to feeling and being and discussing things. And I just loved, before social media, or even before people had a supercomputer in their pocket to Google everything, you would have a conversation with someone like, oh, who was that actor in that movie? And then you can like start to discuss it and just have fun kind of going back and forth and guessing what it was. And there was just beauty in that time. And to not always know what, that person from high school is doing, or to know your friend that you haven't talked to in 5 years, know what they're doing, having the beauty and the magic to like see them somewhere in public and have that conversation like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. What's going on in your life? And that information about other people's lives is so readily available to us. I think it takes away the joy that we have reaching out to a friend or a loved one, and it takes the connection out, and it's almost like a pseudo connection. It makes us feel like we're connected to everyone, and look at this, like we've kept in touch with all of these people. But that is not true connection. That is not true, genuine human connection and joy. And that is what is making us feel so lonely, right? We have this idea of connection, and we feel like we have so many options. when really, like, we need to forge relationships with each other and in society and the people around us, and create a village of people that we can lean on and people that can depend on us. And there is a loneliness epidemic going on right now. There is a mental health crisis that we are experiencing. And it's just really important to get back to basics and literally take a deep breath and enjoy your life, and remember that you do not have to be constantly consuming in order to live a beautiful life. So I hope that you found some inspiration in this video today, and I hope that you take just one little step, just one little step. And a journal prompt that I'll leave you with is, what areas of my life would benefit if I stepped away from social media? What in my life would I have more time for if I wasn't constantly consuming on social media? You would be surprised at how much extra time you have in your day that you're able to allocate to the things that you want to do, and the ways that you are able to create and curate a life that you love and enjoy. Thank you so much for watching today. I love to ramble, and I hope that this sparks something for you. And share it with a friend. Share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And remember, be the light, be the change. It all starts with you. You've got this. Just keep going. I love you.